I am standing in a motel bathroom in Montclair, New Jersey. It's about 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm in my pajamas. I have no makeup on. It has just crossed over the New Year's Eve from 2012 into 2013, and I have received a text message from my cousin. In it is a picture of him and a beautiful woman. They are looking glamorous and sparkly, and clearly they've celebrated the night. And the picture says, "Happy New Year, send me a picture of you and Sean." It's at this moment that I realize I have just been a third wheel on a date with my new boyfriend. Call me ridiculous and call me a naive, idiotic, eternal optimist, but every New Year's Eve, I get this feeling that something potentially very magical and awesome is about to happen. Every New Year's Eve, I think this is going to be the year. I mean, this is my year. But the reality is that most of my New Year's Eves have been spent on my couch watching Dick Clark and Ryan Seacrest in my yoga pants, having all these grand intentions of some amazing night, but for whatever reason, the plans wouldn't work out. But this year was going to be different, 2012, and that's because I had just had the most amazing year of my life. And a big part of that, frankly, was my new boyfriend, Sean. And Sean and I had been dating successfully for 4 months, which, you know, ladies, is like perfect timing for the holidays, right? And I'm not just saying this, but I mean, everything with Sean and I was like fireworks. Our first date was like New Year's Eve. I mean, we lasted for like 7 hours talking and laughing and staring at each other and holding hands. And, you know, I just adored him. And so if ever I was due for an amazing New Year's Eve, this was going to be it. All of the stars were aligned, including a really exciting idea. "Hey, Kath, I was thinking we could go away over New Year's Eve." Oh my God, I mean, leave it to the most amazing boyfriend in the world to suggest something so romantic. My favorite band, the Hold Steady, is playing in Montclair, New Jersey on New Year's Eve. The Hold Steady. I knew the Hold Steady. I liked the Hold Steady too. In fact, this was Sean's favorite band, and he had introduced me to their music the first week we had been dating. And actually, now that I remembered it, we had tried to see them in DC at U Street Music Hall on a night when the two of us had commitments, and so we got there really late, and the bouncers were total jerks, and they almost wouldn't let us in. I mean, Sean was so distraught and upset. I really thought he was going to have a breakdown on the street, and he nearly almost cried. So, I mean, God, he certainly deserved a redo of that night. So, you know what? Not only was I going to support this idea, I was going to love this idea. And I started to think about this new dress that I had purchased for New Year's, for my first New Year's with Sean. It was sparkly, and I thought, you know, it's a rock concert. I'll throw on a black leather jacket. And I got pretty excited about the most romantic New Year's Eve that was about to happen. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about the Hold Steady because it's possible that you haven't heard of them. They are a band of guys from Brooklyn, New York, via Minnesota, and they sing songs about, they write their own lyrics, and they're very passionate, and the songs are about things like redemption and religion and depression and drug addiction and alcoholism, and you know, like, it's the American basics, really. And the lead singer is this guy, Craig Finn, who frankly, in my eyes, kind of looks like a Catholic priest. He is this Irish guy. He's a middle-aged guy with a receding hairline, and you know, he dresses like a pretty normal guy. He wears these little glasses, and he's like basically the last thing you would expect for a rock star, which I have to say added some cute and quirky charm. And you know, as I said, I liked this band, and Sean, I mean, Sean was crazy about them. So New Year's Eve, Sean and I head up the New Jersey Turnpike on our way to Montclair. And as we're driving, there's this huge boom inside of his car, and he says, you know, I think my muffler blew up. And so we're driving, and the ride's pretty long, and I'm thinking, you know, shouldn't we stop? And I ask him that maybe, you know, maybe we should stop and see a mechanic. And Sean says that nothing is going to stop us from getting to Montclair for New Year's Eve. I mean, what a guy. I was so lucky. So we arrive in Montclair, and we get to our hotel, which I was very excited about, except it turned into be this strange kind of a motel. But you know, I pictured the two of us having this really romantic dinner before the concert that night, the main street of Montclair, you know, a little window seat at a restaurant, you know, Sean holding my hand across the table, gazing longingly at me. And so we head into the town that day, and we spend the better part of the afternoon by the concert venue, which Sean is kind of obsessed with because the Hold Steady tour bus is there, and he needs to find out when Will Call opens so that we can get our tickets, and then also he needs to find out when the doors open because we actually have to be there in advance of the doors opening because, God, what if there's a line? And, you know, as I start to calculate what this timing means in my head, like, there's really not going to be time for a romantic New Year's Eve dinner. All right? I reframe myself. we are just gonna have the best concert ever. Kissing, holding hands, dancing at midnight, it's just gonna be so amazing. And so we get coffee, and I'm feeling like I'm trying to reset my thinking for the evening and trying to stay positive, which actually is the name of one of a Hold Steady songs. And it's dark out at this point, and it's really cold, it's winter time, and we're walking down this little quaint street in Montclair. For anyone who's ever been there, it's really adorable. And there's little white Christmas lights on the trees, and it's very dark, and there's no one else on the street. And Sean's arm is around me, and I'm leaning into him, and I'm thinking, God, this is just really gonna be magical. At the far end of the street is someone walking toward us, and it's a figure that's dressed in dark clothes, a hat, a scarf, and he's coming closer to us. And as he gets closer to us, Sean drops his arm from the back of my back and makes a beeline for this guy, shouting, "Craig Finn!" And indeed, it was the lead singer of the Hold Steady who was standing right in front of us. So here we are, here's Craig Finn. He and Sean shake hands, and it's then and there that I witness my new boyfriend, Sean, go into a state that I had never seen before. He was starry-eyed with this silly grin on his face, and he didn't even have any words to say to Craig, so he just sort of stood there in this awkward moment, and he's shaking Craig's hand like crazy. And then we part, and we walk away, and as we walk away, Sean tells me in utter seriousness that he is never washing his hand again. Sean and I ate pizza from a cardboard box in the motel as we got ready for the evening. I'm in my sparkly dress and my black leather jacket, but there's no time to admire the outfit, and there's no time for that pretty picture that's gonna be posted on Facebook, because we have got to get to that venue before the show starts. So of course we get to the venue, and we are 2 hours early for the show, and we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting. And as it gets closer to the time the band goes on, there's this buzz that starts to build in the audience. And as I kind of observe the audience, I realize, this is 80% guys, and it's 20% women. And, I know it's a guys' band, clearly. And so, the band comes out, and what happens is something that I can really only describe as a men's tribal chant. These guys in the audience, in unison, go into this jumping up and down. They are pumping their fists. They know every lyric, every beat. They are singing the songs with Craig. They're tearing at their clothes, and they're tearing at their hair, and they're writhing around in this emotion and expression, including Sean. I mean, I'm absolutely floored. I really have never seen anything like this except when I took my daughter to see the Jonas Brothers. Sean is jumping up and down, and every so often he grabs my hand and shouts something that I can barely hear. But at this point, I'm starting to wonder when the best New Year's Eve is gonna happen, and a pit is slowly starting to form in my stomach. It's getting closer to the stroke of midnight, and I start to wonder if Craig is actually gonna pause for a minute and allow me to have a New Year's Eve kiss with my new boyfriend. I mean, seriously, Craig, it's New Year's Eve, and I am supposed to be having the best one of my entire life. And you know what? The last time I checked, Craig, you didn't even have boobs. Well, eventually, it gets closer to midnight, and there is some kind of a medical emergency in the crowd. One of these crazy, rabid, passionate fans has knocked himself out, and he's laying on the ground, and he's either drunk or dead. We don't really know. At this point, it's midnight. Sean and I have our romantic kiss, and fortunately, the guy on the ground after the paramedics came was just drunk. The show ends, and Sean and I leave, and we're heading back to the motel. And he is drenched in sweat, and he is in a super happy place. And he grabs my hands, and he tells me that it is the most amazing night and the most amazing New Year's Eve of his life. We get back to that motel, and there I am in my pajamas and my bathrobe. And as I'm in the bathroom looking at these text messages and all these beautiful pictures of people on Facebook, I realize that Sean and I don't have a New Year's Eve picture of the two of us. But we certainly have plenty of pictures of Craig Finn. And that's when I realize Craig Finn is an asshole. At this point, at 2 o'clock in the morning, you kind of have two choices when you're angry with your boyfriend. You can come out guns blazing and start a fight and know you're not going to get any sleep, or you can take the equally as effective silent treatment. So I opted for the latter, and as if things couldn't get any worse, around 6 o'clock in the morning, a fire alarm went off in the motel, and we were all evacuated, and nobody ever went back to sleep. So New Year's Day, I really wasn't into talking at all, and Sean was sensing that I was not really happy, and so he suggested that we could do anything and everything that I wanted to do, which meant going into New York and spending the day walking around aimlessly in lots of really expensive shops where I spent a lot of time and I spent no money whatsoever. And as the day went on, my normal boyfriend Sean was back, and he was affectionate and he was attentive and loving. And eventually the Cold War became a little warmer. That evening we stopped in a tiny little restaurant in Soho that was dimly lit with candles. And we talked, and we finally laughed, and we held hands, and we stared at each other. And as we finished dinner, Sean handed his camera to the server and asked him to take a photo of us. So maybe it wasn't the best New Year's Eve ever, at least for me. But in 2013, a lot of really magical and awesome things happened. Not only did Sean and I work out, but we are getting married in 3 weeks. So, Craig Finn, I give you the New Year's Eve of 2012. Well played. But in 2014, I win.